Welcome everybody to Frankie and Matty Ice's Michigan Football Takes. We're here today. I'm Matty Ice,
I'm Frankie.
and we're going to get into some of our thoughts on Michigan football as we look to start the year. First game on Saturday against East Carolina University. How are we feeling, Frankie?
Feeling pretty good, Matty Ice. A lot of questions that I'm curious to have answered, but
Yep.
especially with Jesse Minner being interim for this game, I'm curious to see how he'll handle it.
Yep, it'll be a fun one for sure. So, like you mentioned, a lot of turmoil here going on. Notably, head coach Jim Harbaugh has been suspended for the first 3 games of the season on a self-imposed suspension. How are we feeling here?
I don't know how I feel about it. I've seen a lot of Michigan fans kind of try to put a positive spin on it, saying that the NCAA is going to take that into consideration, like when they delegate on this next season. But I don't really think that's the case, Matty Ice. I think all signs are pointing towards Harbaugh leaving at the end of this year. But I think that might be a different conversation for a different day.
Yeah, that is. The one good thing on that topic, you see Sharon Moore is also out for the full first game on a self-imposed suspension as well, and the NCAA basically came out and said that was all he was going to be punished for. So, as much as signs may point to this being worse in the future for Harbaugh, hopefully that's a glimmer of hope for this situation.
Yeah, was it self-imposed or did the NCAA accept the game for Sharon?
It was like Michigan instituted the penalty, and then the NCAA came out and said, yeah, that's good.
Nice, that's good. Bro, imagine not having Sharon next season, especially against Texas.
I know.
That'd be tough.
But either way, it leaves an interesting opportunity for this season. We have three different head coaches for the first 3 games. Technically 4 if you count the first half and second half of week 2. What are you looking for in these matchups and looking for from these coaches?
So first game, who do you think's going to be calling the defense then? Coach Klink?
Yeah, you have to think, unless Jesse Minter takes over first game as head coach and defensive play calling, that'd be a tough ask, even for a first game.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited to see how the team's kind of handling all the distractions. Like, will they come out distracted and kind of offbeat, or will it not matter who's head coach? I'm assuming just because of our level of competition, it shouldn't matter too much, but We'll see. I'm also excited to see how Sharon Moore is doing, how he does as head coach. Because let's be honest, this is his audition, I think.
Yep. Yes, it really is, especially if, as we talked about before, things go south with Harbaugh. Anything in the future, he is definitely the coach to watch. His high potential has continued to grow the last couple of years. So talking about that, he's out on Saturday for the whole game, and it looks like Kirk Campbell is going to be calling plays. First-year quarterbacks coach. What does that tell you about the potential play calling for Saturday?
Yeah, you like to think that Kirk Campbell's going to let JJ sling it around the yard, but I don't really think anything's going to change. I think they're going to try to be balanced. How they've alluded to, recently, especially at media days, talking about being 50-50 run-pass. So I'm actually just curious to see if they'll show any at all with Corum and Edwards in the field at the same time, or how they actually delegate carries. If it's truly 50-50 or who's favored in the handoffs.
Definitely agree with you. They've had the whole off season to kind of script for this game, so I don't know how much play calling will change based on Moore being out. It'll be interesting for me to see. You saw the beginning of last season, obviously, where we were running a more conservative offense, but we definitely did open it up against Hawaii in week 2 for JJ to throw the ball and kind of his audition to be the starter. You had a couple long Roman Wilson touchdowns. It'll be kind of interesting to see if, like you said, we get Corum and Badon on the field at the same time to get some of that going.
Yeah, especially after how we ended the season last in our last game, despite having 2 pick-sixes, I think the second half offense was insane. It was legit too, showing a lot of like promise with JJ using his feet and slinging it around the yard. So we'll see if they continue that. Hopefully they build off of that.
Yeah, I think that he's going to progress this year. We need him to in order to compete at a high level. Just in general, I wouldn't have described the quarterback situation as a strength for us last year. How do you see J.J. McCarthy's quarterback play playing into our positional benefits this year? Is it going to be an advantage, disadvantage? What are you thinking?
I think definitely having a year under his belt will be beneficial, especially with his growth, and he's definitely more comfortable with the offense. Even with Weiss leaving, I mean, it's basically the same offense. Sherlin Moore just kind of took over. I guess we'll see. There were a couple of things last season I thought JJ really needed to improve on. Sort of inconsistencies, like in his mid-passing game, like sometimes balls thrown too high, sometimes balls thrown like kind of behind the receiver. Still saw a little bit of that in the spring game, and they even uploaded a clip on Instagram where I think it was Barner, right? Barner, Loveland, somebody made that one-handed snag. It's still like thrown behind him, so I guess we'll see. I don't think the first couple of weeks will really be too shabby for him just because of the competition. So hopefully he gets to settle into the season nicely, and hopefully he gets it turned up for Nebraska. That's gonna be a big one.
Yep, I agree with you. So kind of delving more into that, like you said, easier opening into the season. At what point do you think the Michigan schedule starts to get challenging? Is it week 4 at Rutgers? Because that's been a tough game for us the last 2 seasons. Had 2021 at home and squeaked out a tough 20-13 win. And then last year they were leading going into the half, I think. Or at least close to it, and it was a tough game. How are we feeling about them this year?
Yeah, I'm thinking that'll be Harbaugh's first game back, so I'm hoping, the team's hype having him back, Harbaugh's hype. Harbaugh hates Rutgers, too, and it's at the Big House. So I'm thinking that's going to be a thrashing. Hopefully, they shouldn't miss too much of a beat just from getting him back, especially because he'll be at practice. He only has to miss games. I think our first game to worry about is Nebraska on the road.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You look back again 2 years ago, that was a come from behind, tough game. We had to gut it out. That's kind of when you knew that 2021 team was special, but on the road in Lincoln, not where you want to be.
Yeah, we'll not be surprised if that's a night game and Nebraska has like a red or a blackout. That's going to be their Super Bowl.
Yep, as it should be. But yeah, fortunately, speaking of away night games, we're playing at Happy Valley against a much improved Penn State team that's up and coming and looking to prove themselves this year. Fortunately, Michigan avoids the whiteout night game in Happy Valley. How thankful are we for that?
Really thankful. Coach Franklin, he falters when it's not a whiteout night game. So especially against Michigan. So I think we'll handle that game pretty well.
Yeah. Speaking, Penn State has obviously great rushing attack, a couple young running backs, Drew Singleton kind of highlighting the backfield, and brand new 5-star sophomore quarterback, Drew Aller. They're thinking he can bring something to the offense. What do you think that does to help their chances in the Big Ten?
Yeah, you touched on it. I think arguably, like if you're gonna say Michigan doesn't have the best running back room in the Big Ten, the other would be Penn State. They're really solid in the run protection. So that coupled with Drew Aller, I think they'll be one of the 3 teams to beat in the East. Yep. It's gonna be a 3-way race. So this is gonna have a huge playoff implications, I think.
Yep, it reminds me a lot just of the 2016 season where LSU, Penn State, and us split 3 ways. I could see it going a similar way this year. If things go poorly, we'll see how it plays out, but definitely should be interesting. They were a good team last year, sneakily underrated. I mean, only 2 losses, went and won the Rose Bowl. I I think they were heavily underrated last year, partly because of how Michigan beat them in the second half and kind of beat them down. Not a lot of
Yeah.
not a lot of teams took them seriously after that.
Yeah, they arguably should have beat Ohio State too. They kind of
Yeah.
collapsed in on themselves at that game.
Yep.
So I think yeah, with their running back room and Aller being at quarterback, they should be able to close out some of these more like heartbreaking losses. So
Yep. Yeah, it should be interesting. So outside of kind of Penn State's obviously going to be a tough game. Ohio State is always the game. You had mentioned Nebraska on the road. Are there any other games on the schedule that stand out to you?
Minnesota, I think. Minnesota, play them on the road. We don't play them too often anymore either. So I think
Unfortunately.
this is a new stretch in like the Big Ten scheduling system where we're starting to play Minnesota, and I don't like quick glance. I don't know like who we're leaving out that we normally have played, but there's definitely some rotation there. Like we got Purdue again, which would be
Yeah.
nice to see. So I think Minnesota should be a hard fought game. I don't see us losing, but it being on the road again, we've gotten scared at Minnesota before. You remember 2015?
Yeah.
So, and
Great ending.
that
Yeah.
goal line stand. Hopefully, we don't get scared like that.
Yeah. Yep. Heck of a game, but like you said, always good with a trophy on the line, little brown jug. But that'll be an exciting game to watch. Me personally, I'm kind of always, it's weird to say, but kind of scared of the Maryland game. You
Yeah.
see such a potent offense. Mike Locksley has brought a lot to that team. You've got a really veteran quarterback with Talia, and he has shown the ability to kind of rip us up in the pass. You saw the second half of last year when they started coming back. It's just a scary game. It'll be on the road week before the game. That one, to me, stands out.
Yeah, that one's scary. That one's scary, especially like we saw the same situation that happened with Ohio State last year, right before the game at the road or on the road at Maryland. So definitely, I think this team is going to be mentally strong though.
I do.
Like, I hope. So last year we were a second half team, kind of started off slow in a lot of games, hoping they kind of get over that hump and just the whole game on,
Yep.
firing on all cylinders. We'll see.
Yeah.
I guess
Again,
we'll get that question answered on Saturday.
I guess we'll see. We'll see. Might be a while. But like you said, no complaints about being a second half team. That just means our coaches are on that next level, but it would be nice
Yeah.
to come out firing.
Yeah, there
Okay.
were something we haven't been used to, making adjustments on the fly, especially on defense. So,
Yep. Yeah, and I think, I mean, as much as we were a good second half team last year, we didn't have to really adjust stuff. We were never far behind. It was always close games. You kind of saw that in the TCU game. It was a different situation for Michigan. I don't think we responded that poorly. J.J. McCarthy obviously came out and had a great second half trying to will us back into that one, but ultimately not enough.
yeah, weird how mistakes we hadn't made all year were what lost us the TCU game. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think second half of the TCU game, we just realized like we really did have the ability to air it out and be a more balanced attack. I don't know if the coaches knew that or if they were surprised or like why they had been like holding it back all season. But we didn't really see that till the Ohio State game, and then the TCU game kind of solidified it.
Yeah, it definitely felt like we could do it. It wasn't a we had to, so we went to it. It was a genuine passing attack, so I guess we'll see. We've got 2 of the top 5 running backs in the country, how much that comes to show during the season.
Yeah.
But I feel confident that it's there.
One of whom I might add is thinks he's as good as Archie Griffin.
It is something. It is a claim. So kind of delving into that, we can start looking at our offensive roster, or at least on the offensive side of the ball. We are returning pretty much every starter. I mean, we lost very few players from the offense. A lot of guys chose to come back. notably Blake Corum, Cornelius Johnston, Zach Center, Trevor Keegan, all guys that could have gone pro and came back for the extra year. How are we feeling about our veteran leadership there and how that's going to help us with sustained production?
Yeah, veteran leadership is great, all-time high, I think. I'm even more impressed, though, with the fact that we have so many transfers in our offensive line room, and that just made it seems like the competition is what's making them even better. It's not even like senior leadership adds to it, but when you know that you might lose this job, like a lot of them could start all over the country. Like our two deep start anywhere, but the fact that you could lose this job and the coaches are telling you like you might not win, that's just how tough the competition is going to be. I think that's what's fueling us and making us a lot better.
Yep. I think it speaks a lot to our culture, too, just that might not fly on a lot of teams. I mean, in the era of the transfer portal, when someone comes in, sometimes someone goes out just right after. But it seems like we brought in a lot of production, specifically in the offensive line, without losing anyone. And it's really shocking. So we'll see. So speaking of that offensive line, a couple transfers we brought in: Ladarius Henderson, left tackle; Drake Nugent, center; Miles Hinton, right tackle. Do you think they'll play into that kind of two deep there?
Yeah, I think definitely Drake Nugent's gonna win the starting job for center. Ladarius Henderson and the Carson Barnhart battle at left tackle could get pretty interesting. Because what do you do with the loser?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Carson Barnhart started all year at right tackle basically last year, and now you're telling your basically two best tackles to battle it out for left tackle. It'll be interesting for me. I wouldn't be opposed. I kind of see Carson Barnhart going back to right tackle if something happens. But I mean, I think Ladarius Henderson will win that battle eventually. He just came in a little late to camp, and we'll see from the get-go who's starting, but later on in the season, I expect him to take the job.
Yeah, I think Henderson wins that job too, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Barnhart at right tackle, but also you have some pretty proven commodities at the right tackle battle as well. Trente Jones and transfer Miles Hinton.
Not to mention just senior Jeff Percy. That's a big dude. He's never really played for us, but big guy. I've seen him in person. He's just towering. But yeah, I guess in that respect, the tackles are really the job up for grabs because we know who our guards are going to be.
Yeah, of course.
Trevor Keegan, Zach Center.
Yeah, I think they're what are holding our offensive line together.
Oh yeah.
Like such a solid interior offensive line too. Like we wish we still had Olu, of course, but Nugent I think will fit into that role well, and then those two next to him.
Yeah, I mean, he was still on the Remington watch list last year, too. I think he'll come in and kind of, I mean, it's hard to follow up an Outland Trophy winner and just step into his footsteps, but I think he's, from reports out of camp at least, has had a good start to the season.
Yeah. I agree. What do you think? So I'm curious to hear your take on wide receiver, because with some transfers, we really got CJ returning.
Yep.
Roman Wilson returning. Yep. Given the honor of the number 1 jersey, I kind of think like Harbaugh kind of did away sort of with the tradition that the best wide receiver has to wear number 1 because like unproven Andrel Anthony he had been wearing it already.
Freshman year.
But what do you think? So the fact that Roman like switched to number 1, that has to signify the trust they have in him, this coaching staff. But I think last year, like obviously he was a little, not necessarily inconsistent, but struggled through some injuries. Didn't really, come to light really until the TCU game, like against Ohio State. We really leaned on Cornelius. How do you think Roman steps into that number 1, into that role starting this year?
Yeah. So I mean, I think like you touched on, the number 1 jersey is a big deal in Michigan football lore, and it's kind of gone away the last couple seasons. Touched on Andrel Anthony. I think that the switch for him to number 1 could either be seen as A, the coaching staff bringing that back, or B, the players taking it and saying, hey, senior wide receiver, number one receiver, I'm going to wear number one. I'm bringing that back for Michigan football. And so I think it speaks a lot to just the confidence both Roman Wilson has and the coaching staff has. We've seen videos all offseason. JJ and Roman have definitely grown closer. That connection, I think, is going to be pretty apparent towards the beginning of the season. He's slotted to step into that number one slot, wherever that may be. I don't think he's going to play fully on the outside. I think he'll be mostly slot, motion out wide, just based off our wide receiver room and the other guys we have there. But I expect him to take a big jump and definitely lead us in receptions and yards this year. He's just so dynamic. It's hard to not get him the ball.
Yeah, and you could definitely tell the beginning of last season, especially against Hawaii, like, and against Colorado State too. They kind of had like a couple of designs intended for him, like with swing passes, reverses, deep balls. So I hope they have more designs for him, especially with Cornelius has already kind of proven himself as a dynamic weapon too. So just having both of them on the field, defense is unsure of who to scheme for.
Yeah. Yep.
Take our passing game to the next level.
The big thing for him, too, is you saw towards the end of the season, you highlighted some inconsistencies. He's always had the hands, but it was kind of the route running and separation. He would disappear in some games. I mean, you saw against TCU, he was getting open down the field. I mean, you saw the route he ran against Ohio State on the long Cornelius Johnson touchdown. He broke a dude's ankles. That doesn't happen on the football field very often. He's getting better at his route running, and I think it'll lead to just more consistencies in getting him the ball.
Yeah, he's clearly putting the work in, and we can all tell. So I'm sure if fans are noticing it, people who are seeing him every day in practice and camp are noticing it even more. And
so it'll be big to have him back, have Cornelius Johnson back, because, like you said, it's just you know what you're getting. He is a stable wide receiver, starting wide receiver for us. I think that it'll be interesting to see the depth behind them. We had Andrell Anthony transfer out. Ronnie Bell, our leading wide receiver the last 3 years, also gone to the pros. Shout out him, by the way, just made the 53-man roster for the 49ers. But
nice.
It'll be interesting kind of who takes that role for the third wide receiver on the field, whether that's Tyler Morris, Darius Clemens, even Peyton O'Leary. I mean, who would have thought him at the end of last year, but he's had a good summer.
Yeah, he made some noise in the spring game.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how it'll shake out. So right now I think they got primarily at Z, Tyler Morris and then Darius Clemens. I think well, Tyler Morris is battling with some injuries right now. I think maybe the first couple of games. Darius Clemens too, actually having some muscle issues. So, ideally, I was hoping that maybe they would kind of not necessarily split, but you could tell like they're taking some of the game snaps to kind of see who the real starter is. But I think towards like 4 games into the season when they're both healthy, Tyler Morris will end up taking that spot. Curious to see how the rest shakes up too, because like we could have, Samaj Morgan getting a lot of snaps and just getting into the rotation.
I was gonna say, we have some young guys who aren't proving yet, but they are freak athletes. Get them the ball in space and see what happens. You said Samaj Morgan. Also look for freshmen like English. Christian Dixon's a redshirt sophomore now and has really never touched the field, but man, he was a weapon in high school. It'll be interesting to see who gets on the field, if it's more by committee or if guys start to take that role later on in the season.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see just kind of the development of our young guys there, especially like Darius Clemens after the spring game last year had so much hype. And then as a freshman in Michigan, sometimes you kind of fall off. You're just unheard of again, really. So hopefully we get that one young guy who's just a dog, and we just see him every game. I don't think we've had that since who? Like Devin Funchess, maybe?
Funchess definitely came out there. Devin Gardner, his first year out wide, right?
Yeah, he was good.
But yeah, kind of on the flip side of that, to flip it around, you see a guy like Morian Walker. He was a dynamic recruit we got, 6'4", 180. he ended up transferring over to the defensive side of the ball this offseason. So he's battling for that second cornerback slot. What are you thinking there? What have you heard?
Yeah, so kind of switching to the DB side, I'm not necessarily nervous, but I think this was the first couple of games before conference play, I think, was going to be pretty pivotal and just kind of seeing how guys are developed and like getting guys some good game time and some action to kind of see how they're going to fit into our system. And Marion didn't have a great spring game either. And now he's hurt, probably won't see the field week 1. We haven't really been updated on the severity. So I don't know. I guess you kind of just hope Josh Wallace will step in and be that man.
Yeah, I hear you there. Because definitely you have Will Johnson out there. He's your number one.
Obviously.
He's your guy. You're looking for that second cornerback to fill in on the opposite side of the field. Got Mikey Sainristil in the slot. I mean, to me, it's hard because you saw last season Jamon Green was supposed to be that guy out wide, but kind of slowly lost that spot to Will Johnson as the season went on. You definitely need a committee out at cornerback. For me, I kind of don't want to see just Josh Wallace kind of take the job right away. I don't mind easing them into it first couple games of the season, just getting a lot of guys some reps. Jaden McBurrows, I mean, he's seen the field the last 2 seasons as well, but getting him some more reps, just having guys ready to go in case anyone goes down.
Yeah, like what you were saying, like you don't want, obviously you want there to be some competition at that position. We're not sure how that got affected with Amarion being injured, but I do think we'll see like Jaden McBurrows, especially against Michigan State. I think he's gonna come in and lock stuff down.
Yeah, have to start him there, right?
Yeah, that's his first start.
No. All in good fun. And then another kind of position that's banged up on the defensive side of the ball going into week 1 at least is safeties. I mean, we have 2 returning standout safeties in Rod Moore and Makari Page. Even knocked out RJ Moten, transferred in the offseason. He started all of last year. Kind of speaks to how good those guys are. Both will be out week 1 with miscellaneous injuries. How are we feeling about who's going to come in and fill that spot?
Yeah, so firstly, I'm not too worried about the safety spot. These are definitely just, normal camp injuries. Harbaugh said, I think for both of them, there are different variations of their injuries, and they have the non-serious ones.
Yeah,
definitely just getting them healthy. So I intend, and I think they'll be the starters definitely by Nebraska at the very latest. So not worried about that. I think it's good. It'll be good though to get some younger guys some snaps. Especially Keon Sapp. I think he's definitely the future of our defense.
Yep. You'll see guys, Zeke Berry, Keon Sapp, Quentin Johnson, all will get snaps in their absence. I mean, those guys were high 4-star recruits too. You get in. Everyone coming out of camp has said that those guys have steadily improved. That just throughout camp, throughout the summer even, they've gotten better and better. So I'm kind of excited to see what those game reps will do for them, if they'll be able to show themselves. Because, like you said, we've got established starters. It'll be interesting if they can play their way onto the field with early season reps.
Yeah, and I mean, our defense is already kind of like heavy on rotations too. I mean, Makari Page and Rod Moore won't be out there every snap, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be good, get these guys some game snaps, and then they'll be more like integrated into the defense in game time situations when we need them.
Yeah, funny you say that. Actually, I think Rod Moore was our most consistent defensive player on that side of the ball last season, at least. Definitely RJ Moten and Makari Page were rotating all over the place just because of how unique their skill sets were. We would move Moten up kind of to play a hybrid linebacker role, so that was unique. But we'll see this year.
Definitely. I think their roles change a little bit, especially losing DJ Turner. Gonna need them to step up a little more. Not that they haven't stepped up already, but they definitely will be looked to as the rock of the defense. Yeah. Rod Moore is a consensus All-American. I'll be shocked if he's not first team.
Yeah, I
defense.
mean he's definitely just grown. I mean, playing as a freshman, a true freshman, coming in 2021, played his way onto the field, hasn't looked bad since. Has been continuously improving. Kind of showed some ball hawk tendencies last year, and is just such a surefire tackler. It's hard to not see that growth and potential.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no chance he got worse.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so also on the defensive side, I mean, we've got a lot of returning linebackers. You would kind of set there. You've got Junior Colson, Michael Barrett. I mean, even transfer Ernest Hausman from Nebraska, their leading tackler from last year. I mean, we've got depth there. I think more of the question earlier on into the season is who will play on the D edge?
All right, actually, I want to interject. So
Yeah.
you had just said Ernest Hausman's Nebraska's leading tackler. To
Yeah.
kind of show the differences in production, Junior Colson last season had 100+ tackles. Ernest
Yeah.
Hausman had like around 50 and was
Yeah.
Nebraska's leading tackler. So
Yeah.
that just shows kind of, in my opinion, like what this coaching staff had been doing for our linebackers, especially Herbert. Like Junior
Yeah.
Colson he looks massive now. He put on like 15, 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So Hausman was already good, producing at a terrible Nebraska. Now he's in our system and under our coaching staff. I think he'll break out. I actually think he'll kind of take over Michael Barrett's spot. Even though Michael Barrett's senior captain, very reliable, I kind of see, kind of how they did like Jabril Peppers in that Viper spot. I think they'll find a way to have all three of those guys on the field, with Barrett being like a Viper role.
Yeah, yep. Barrett and the Viper. Haven't heard that since 2020. That went so
But it'll
well.
work this time. It'll work this time.
Yeah, I definitely see it. And then even another guy, Jimmy Rolder. I mean, he was on the field as a true freshman last year, which was crazy to think about. That just doesn't happen in the Big Ten anymore. But he's a guy I see. I don't know how much he'll be able to get on the field this season, but in the future, I like him a lot. I think he'll be great depth in case someone goes down this year too.
Yeah, Rolder right now is purely depth, but I think he'll grow into the defense. Hopefully Jesse Minter stays too. He'll settle into the system nicely. I think he'll be a reliable player in the future.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about the D edge?
Yeah, so I think the edge is a position where there aren't really there are going to be technically starters, but I think all four of these guys, so McGregor, Josiah Stewart, Derek Moore, and Jalen Harrell, I think they're all four of them are just going to fill both positions. Like we won't necessarily see two main guys. Like our defensive line rotates consistently.
Yeah.
So I think all of them have the potential to just be great. But I definitely think our more reliable ones. Josiah Stewart, have you seen his film from Coastal Carolina?
That dude is a dude.
He's a dude. He came in a little slim though. I'm curious to see how he'll fit in. Ojabo wasn't that big either. Relatively speaking,
Yep. I think he was more of a pass rusher.
Yeah.
When he came in, I think he'll be expected to do more in the run game this year. Just like you said, I expect more by committee too. But for me, it's interesting. Those guys are really heavy pass rush. I mean, Derek Moore is a speed rusher. It'll be interesting to see who's on the field in third and shorts. Obviously, you expect a senior like Braden McGregor to be out there. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Stewart, Cross from him, or Jalen Harrell for me in those situations.
Yeah, I definitely think Harrell has a lot to prove this year. So I can see him kind of being that guy who's just going to be, relied on a little more. Him and McGregor, I think, for the third and shorts. Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart, I think, they'll be pinning their ears back, torturing quarterbacks.
I mean, you saw what Ayabioki did last year. I mean, if you get someone in that role, they're just going to go hunt. It'll be nice.
Well, let's be honest. McGregor should have had a pick six last year, too.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Maybe two. But it should be interesting to kind of see what they do week one, who comes out first, just kind of how they rotate them. It'll be fun. And then you go inside, interior of the D-line. I mean, we've got two returning starters, basically. I mean, I'd elevate Mason Graham to a starter after how he was playing on to last year. Mason Graham and Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins has become a freak in the offseason. I think he was named to the college football freak list. You saw him at Big Ten Media Days doing some crazy things. I mean, he's gotten big this offseason.
Yeah, I feel like we always have a guy like that.
Yep.
Like Mohurst,
Mozzie
Smith, Chris Jenkins this year. I'm excited to see his growth. Obviously, he got a lot of playing time last year. Now he's gonna be the dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Now he's the man.
Yep.
I think it's good too, because we've seen somebody like Michael Morris. Like last year, he would play outside, then kind of inside.
Yeah.
Right? He would play kind of like a hybrid role. Do you think Jenkins could fill that, or no? Do you think he's purely inside?
I see Jenkins as more of an inside player. If anyone was to do it, you look at Kenneth Grant. I mean, he slimmed down from 350 to 330. He was previously a nose tackle. I think they're getting him more into that D tackle to play as a pass stunt guy. I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to put either of our main two interior guys out, so it'd have to come from one of those second tier guys.
Yeah, I agree. Kenneth Grant, yeah, he did slim down, but he didn't get small. He's still huge.
Yeah.
So obviously he could play the interior. Him and Graham.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying him and Graham and Chris Jenkins are a solid, reliable group.
Yep. I was gonna say another guy to watch there is Rayshon Benny. I mean, high recruit, hasn't really. I mean, he got on the field last year, but he wasn't in the rotation a whole bunch. It'll be interesting to see if he's listed as a DT right now, but he's not a huge guy compared to the others we've got up front. He could also fill that role as kind of a rotating run edge.
Yeah, actually, funny story. I saw him at Chipotle once on State, and I mean, relative to me, he was huge, dude. He was massive. And that was when he came in. He'd just come in as a freshman. Now, he's even bigger. But the fact that you said he's not as big as the other guys, it just speaks volume.
I mean, give all the credit in the world to Ben Herbert that he's
Coach
been going
Herb.
to town.
Yeah. If there's one coach that's gonna hold this program together, if everyone leaves ship, it's Coach Herb.
Yep. He's been great for the culture and just for building our development. It's been good to see the last couple of years. So I think we've pretty much gone through our roster. I see a lot of consistencies from the end of last year. We're not bringing in a whole ton of new production compared to a lot of teams across the country. Love to see the returning quarterback. I mean, that's just huge when you go into championship play. How are you feeling for Michigan's ceiling this season?
Yeah, I definitely think this is the year to do it. Especially, after this year, we're going to have so many people leaving, and our schedule is a gauntlet. We have a gauntlet schedule next season. And, obviously, Harbaugh's kind of alluded to it. And I think sort of with the head coaching, duties for the first 3 games, definitely going to see some coaches get some game film as being head coach. Definitely, I think we'll see some coaching vacancies at the end of this year. So I think this is the year we got all the pieces. We just got to put them together.
Yep. I think you look across the country, too. You see Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, all with quarterback vacancies. I mean, that no one really stepped up into. I mean, Ohio State didn't announce McCord as the starter until this week. Don't think Alabama's announced yet. I mean, if there was any year to do it, it's when the big dogs kind of have some uncertainties.
Yeah, and then you hope we do it, but then it's gonna come where there's gonna be an asterisk painted by College Football World and say, hey, this was the best year everyone was down. But they would have said that last year too.
See, I will never. There's always gonna be some narrative. I mean, I just want to win it all. There's no asterisk. No matter what. You
The
can
only
start whatever
asterisk we
narrative
put,
you want.
yeah, the only asterisk we put is the Ohio State Michigan game that got vacated, 2010.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say 2016. I mean,
that too, yeah.
yeah. No. But yeah, I mean, high hopes this year. Obviously, we'll keep talking about it in the coming weeks, see how we're looking to start the season, but very high expectations, both from the fans and the players. So it'll be good to follow as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely the highest expectations we've had even since 2016. Like I remember when 2016 started, I was like, oh, we're winning the Natty, and we definitely could have.
Yep.
We had the pieces. A couple of things could have gone our way. Obviously, that's how
Slowed down
the
to end
ebbs,
the season. Yep.
yeah, ebbs and flows of the season. That's just how stuff happens. But this is I've never heard of a more hyped Michigan team. Maybe
Yep.
'07, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But this team's definitely hungry. They want it.
Definitely.
Yep.
Let's just hope. So speaking of the '07 team, a lot of them came back
Yeah.
because they wanted to win the Natty, and then we all know
They
how
went
that turned out.
9-4, but
But they did beat Urban Meyer. But
Right.
anyways,
yeah,
we all know how
great
that turned
Capital
out.
One game. Yep.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
But before we look ahead to the rest of the season, I guess we got to focus on Week 1. Give me your predictions for East Carolina. Give me a prediction on score. Give me a prediction on kind of the players of the game on offensive and defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm not a betting man, Matty Ice. But if I were, hypothetically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and if I hypothetically had a podcast talking about what I thought was going to happen, and if there was a hypothetical viewer I was telling this to, just the disclaimer, like, I don't tell you how to spend your money, but I would indeed. Just hypothetically, I'm not telling anyone to do this. Take Michigan on the over, or take Michigan to cover, and then you do take the over, of course.
Yeah. Always take the over, hypothetically.
I do foresee. Obviously, I think Blake Corum's gonna have a hell of a game.
Yeah.
I think he's just gonna be so hungry. I'm curious to see kind of how elusive he is in making cuts on his knee.
Yep.
I was a little concerned. He said he feels great. He hasn't lost a beat, and I saw a video of him hip dusting like 500 pounds. So he's probably good, but obviously we want to get confirmation. We need to see it for ourselves.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see JJ sling it around again. Last year, they took a lot of like opening drives to kind of just hit like 5-yard out routes, kind of get him warmed up. So I just want to see him kind of get into his progressions, get into the swing of the game. Don't try to force anything. Obviously, like when you're playing a team like ECU, you all want to eat. Like everyone on the team has the potential to have a great game. I don't want to see anyone force anything. Just play sound football. That's all I want.
Yep. How about on the defensive side of the ball? Anyone to look out for?
Yeah, I think defensive side, man. I think Will Johnson has 2 picks, and I think we get 3+ sacks.
Yeah. I mean, Will Johnson has the lingering injury, doesn't he? I don't know if he's playing Week 1. Yeah,
You're right. They did mention that.
I think it'll come down to the day of, but
it definitely will be a day of. I know they had already said Rodmore and Macari were like pretty much out.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Will Johnson will be day of. So how about this? I think Michael Barrett has 2 picks.
Hey, flashback to Rutgers last year. I'll take it. Yeah, I feel that. I think that Michigan will win handily. At the end of the day, just the better football team on the field, talent-wise, coaching-wise, even with some coaches out. I think that just having some injuries will we might give up some plays on the defensive end that you wouldn't usually see, especially with it being the first game. So don't expect a perfect game, but handily won game by Michigan.
Yeah, like there will be some plays given up, and people are going to start talking, but only those who truly know ball will know that there's nothing to worry about.
But at the end of the day, it's a maze out.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
They're trying some new things, man. A Maze Out opener,
yeah,
night game against Purdue. I think that was rumored,
yeah.
right?
I think
At
so.
the Big House. It
Yep.
says TBD on Google still, but it's
Speaking
gonna be.
of,
I've heard it's rumored as a night game.
yeah, do you see the new lights, the lighting system?
I did. I hadn't.
It's
Obviously, you can't really tell. It obviously like looked better on the
yeah.
video, but I can't even imagine that in person. I'm mad I won't be able to see it.
I know. But yeah, it
My
should be a good one.
my dad, I was telling you, he got a tour for his birthday. He
Yeah.
said the screens were huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're way bigger. I think they had. I'm not sure if they said that they were bigger than what's in Jerry's World or the same
Uh,
size. Probably
yeah,
not
yeah.
bigger. No, I think they were saying that it's the same type of screen as what's
Okay,
in Jerry's
gotcha.
World.
I was gonna
So
say,
nice quality.
yeah,
But I never really liked it, man. When you try to take videos of it, it looks weird, just because of
yeah,
the
yeah.
material.
We'll see, but should be a fun start to the season. Hopefully, give us a little more to talk about. We'll come back, watch some film, move forward.
Of course, yep. By this time next week, we'll be 1-0.
Yep.
Still
In
number
pursuit
2
of the
though.
national championship.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, well, it was good talking to you. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Matthew,
I'm Frankie.
and this is the Frankie and Matty Ice Michigan football takes.
Go blue.
Oh, I stopped it before that.
Ah, damn.